Alright guys, today we're going to talk about day 2 of standard form of parabolas. We're going to take a look at different ways to go ahead and graph them. Yesterday we talked about having every single term. We had our ax squared plus bx plus c. Today we're going to take a look at what happens when there's no linear term. So we have our quadratic and we have our constant. The axis of symmetry is going to be centered at x is equal to 0. Always. It's always going to be x is 0. So that is actually the y-axis. My vertex, therefore, is going to be the point 0, comma, c, whatever that constant is. If it's 4, it's 0, 4. If it's 7, it's 0, 7. If it's negative 20, it's 0, negative 20. Whatever that last thing... whatever that last guy is going to be where my vertex is. So, keeping that in mind, that's going to help us do our next graph. So first steps first is we're going to graph the vertex, and in this case we're also going to do the axis of symmetry so I can see what happens. So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so we know we're going to be here. So there's my axis of symmetry. I really like the way that hot pink stood out, so we're going to use hot pink again. The C in this case is a 2, so my vertex is at 0, comma 2. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to pick points for x and plug them in and see where they're going to be. So if you take a look at my chart here, usually we're going to do 1, 2, and 3. We're not going to do 0 because 0 is already there. However, I have a scary fraction. I don't like fractions. When I get those, specifically if they're in terms of evens, so in this case 2 is an even, I'm going to put even numbers in here so I can divide by nice, pretty answers. Okay, so in this case I'm going to do 2, 4, and 6. And I'm going to go down a little bit so I can show you how to do this in your calculator. So we have negative a half x squared plus 2. All I did was rewrite the problem so that I can see and show you how we're going to plug it in. Okay? So when I go ahead and plug this guy in, I have negative a half times my first value I picked was 2 squared plus 2. My order of operations tells me I always do my exponents first. So I'm going to take 2 squared. And 2 squared is 4. So I have negative a half times 4 plus 2. Well, I know that a half, multiplying by the half, is the same thing as dividing by 2 because fractions are just division problems. And if it's got a negative sign with it, I'm just going to divide by the negative version. So instead of taking 4 times negative a half, I'm going to take 4 divided by negative 2. Easy. So 4 divided by negative 2 gives me negative 2. And I have negative 2 plus 2, which is going to give me 0. So my first point is going to be 2, comma 0. And we're going to graph all of these in a second. I want to finish entering my table first. Next idea is we're going to plug in 4. So I have negative a half times 4 squared plus 2. And if you have one of my fancy graphing calculators, you can just plug this in all at once. But you got to plug it in correctly. So if you plug this straight into the graphing calculator, you're going to hit the negative sign. 1 parentheses. Remember, there are parentheses, so let me grab my calculator and show you what I'm talking about. Let's turn them on. I'm going to do this instead. Parentheses negative 1 divided by 2. So parentheses negative 1 divided by 2, close parentheses, times, so we're going to do another parentheses, 4, close parentheses, squared. Remember, the squared button is x2. And then you're going to take that plus 2. I plug the whole thing in. Hit enter. I get my answer. So you can do it either way. I'm not going to be angry if you use your graphing calculator to figure out that answer is -6. I think it's smarter just so you get used to working with it more, but you know, not going to be angry. And then I'm going to do the same thing, only instead of 4, I'm going to have 6. Which gives me -16. So that point's not going to be on our graph, but it'll be okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and continue graphing my function. And again, I only have half of it, but I know something special. Okay, so we'll have 2, 0. 4, 1, 2, -6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we said this 6, -16 is not going to fit, so don't worry about it. So we have half of my parabola, but a cool part is that we know that it has an axis of symmetry. So everything on one side flips to the other. Everything on one side flips to the other. Sorry, it's all backwards for me. It's confusing sometimes. So if this point is 2 away at 0, my other point is going to be the left at 0. If this point is 4 away at -6, then this point is going to be 4 away at -6. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then again, we're going to give my parabola a nice U shape. So not too terrible. Hardest part, plugging in numbers. Oh no. So again, let's go ahead and start with doing our vertex and talking about our axis of symmetry. So our vertex is going to be at 0, -4, because it's going to be whatever this guy is. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to be down here. We know that my axis of symmetry is going to also be on that line. So I'm going to put that guy in. We're going to next go ahead and pick points to plug in. And if you notice, I just have a 2 here. I don't have a fraction, so we're just going to go easy and do 1, 2, 3. We like easy. 2x squared plus 4. So in this case, again, I'm going to do 1 by hand, 1 in the calculator. You can pick the last one however you want to do it. So I'm going to have 2 times 1 squared minus 4. 1 squared is 1, so I have 2 times 1 minus 4. 2 minus 4, so my answer is -2. That's a weird looking negative sign. If I want to do this guy in my calculator, I'm going to hit 2, parenthesis, my next value is 2, squared minus 4. I'm going to type it in just like I see it. So 2, parenthesis, my x squared, which is above the ln button. The log, I guess, log is right below it. Minus 4. Hit enter. You get 4. And then let's see what happens when I plug in 3. I get 14. So again, that last one's not going to be on my graph. So we're going to go ahead and graph these guys. I have 1, -2, 2, 4, and 3, 14. That guy's not going to be on there. Let's do my reflections. So if this guy is down 2 to the right 1, this guy is going to be down 2 to the left 1. This guy is right 2, up 4. This one's going to be left 2, up 4. Okay, to connect our dots. Okay, this is where you might have probably start yelling at me. I will be there. Give me a second. This is when we have all three. We have our quadratic, our linear, and our constant. Everything we need is in this nice little square for us. We just look at it and think we get scared. So, something you might have already noticed. When this was negative, my guy opened down. When this was positive, he opened up. That will always happen. So that's what this guy first says. If he's positive, you're going to go up. If you're negative, you're going to go down. My line of symmetry is going to be based on this little formula. So first thing I'm always going to do is I'm going to write that little formula off to the side of my box. Negative b over 2a. And we are used to finding a, b, and c with our quadratic formula that you yelled at me for and you didn't like. So, get over it. After that, whatever x value we get here, we're going to plug it in here. We're going to find that intercept, and then we're going to sketch it. So, that's what all this stuff is saying. One step at a time. So negative b over 2a. I have my a is 1, my b is negative 2, and my c is negative 3. So this is negative b, and my b is already negative. It's going to be the opposite sign. So I have x equals 2 over 2 times 1. 2 times 1 on the bottom is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So my axis of symmetry is not going to be at the line, the y-axis anymore. It's going to be at the line x equals 1. So that's the up and down line where x is always 1. Bam. First step, done. Now we know on our axis of symmetry, someplace on there is going to be my vertex. I just don't know where. So what we're going to do is we're going to plug in 1 in our original function to try and figure out where that is. So, in my step, it makes no sense if I just write, I'm going to say plug in answer. Just go with that, plug in answer. So, I have 1 squared minus 2 times 1 minus 3. So, I have 1 minus 2 minus 3. 1 minus 2 is negative 1, minus 3 more is negative 4. So my vertex is 1, negative 4. So whatever answer I get here will get plugged into the problem in step 2. That answer is going to tell me where I'm going to be at, either up or down. In this case, we were down 4. My next step is to find my y-intercept. My y-intercept is on this line, where x is always 0. So we're going to let x equal... Ooh, that's not what I wanted. Haha. Gotta be able to write here. We want my x to be equal to 0. So now I'm going to plug in 0 into the original one, just like I did with 1. So I have 0 squared minus 2 times 0 minus 3. And 0 squared is nothing. 2 times 0 is nothing. So my intercept is at negative 3. So I'm going to go at 0, negative 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to put a dot there. But since I am at negative 3 and 1 to the left of my axis of symmetry, I know that there's a point over here at down 3 and 1 to the right. And now I have 3 points and I can make a little sketch of my graph. Again, might hate me a little bit for this one, but suck it up, buttercup. First steps first. My negative b over 2a. We're going to plug in answer. And x will be equal to 0. Those are the things I'm always going to write whenever I see one with all three terms. Negative b over 2a, plug in answer, x equals 0. So, let's get to doing. My a in this case is negative 1. My b is 4, and my c is 2. So I have negative 4 over 2 times negative 1. So I have negative 4 over negative 2, which gives me 2. That means the axis of symmetry is here, where x is always 2. And that should be okay to be seen. Next, I'm going to go ahead and plug in that 2. So I have negative 2 squared plus 4 times 2 plus 2. Negative 2 squared is 4, but I have this negative outside here. So I have negative 4 plus 8 plus 2. Negative 4 plus 8 is 4, plus 2 more is 6. So I have the point at, I'm going to switch colors here so I can see it, 2 up 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sorry, I prematurely put that little dot there. I was counting. Next, we're going to let 0 be x. So I have negative 0 squared plus 4 times 0 plus 2. And again, 0 squared is nothing. 4 times 0 is nothing. So I'm going to be at plus 2. So I am at 0 up 2. Ooh, I need to make this bigger. Then I'm going to reflect my point. So if I'm up 2 and 2 to the left, I'm going to be up 2 and 2 to the right. So I have a point here. And then I'm going to sketch my graph. Not too bad, guys. Doing good. All right, go do your homework.